Welcome back. It's episode 82 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh, coming to you from Minneapolis area, Twin Cities area, I guess. Mother's Day morning. I'm here with Troy. What's going on, good buddy?
Not much. Baseball's canceled. Too much rain. We can't get our tournament in, so whatever. now I'm here recording at 9 a.m.
Yeah, we got to record early so we can take care of those moms in our life today and make sure that they have a special day. Happy Mother's Day to anyone out there that might be listening. Hopefully you guys all took care of the moms in your life too. All right, Troy, before we get started, really quickly, just want a quick reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means that we rely on support from listeners like you to help us cover expenses, produce more and hope better hockey card content, and help us fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hobby. Right now, there's still time to join our out of 99 support level tier for only $5 a month. It helps support our show. You also get access to the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server. Really easy to do, Troy. To support us, you can go to hockeycardsgongshow.com. There's a Become a Patron link there. You can go to the Patreon website at patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. There's a link in the show description for whatever podcast app you listen to us on, and in our social media profiles, I guess, on Instagram and TikTok. There's a link tree with the link there. We have 2 new patrons since our last show. Very grateful for that. So we want to give a special thanks to David H. and Hockey Card Faction. And be sure to check out the Instagram page for Hockey Card Faction. And that's just another reminder I want to give to anyone that does choose to support us via Patreon. If you message us, we're happy to give you a quick plug, just a little thank you for supporting our show. All right, Troy, you ready for the game plan?
On today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 82. Then it's off to Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus. We then take a look at a playoffs hobby update, followed by hobby news. Next, we take a look at tag grading and how their values are comparing to other grading companies now that tag has been out in the market for a while. We end the show with new product releases and our personal pickups. All right, the greatest NHL player to wear number 82. Per the Hockey Writers' greatest player to wear each number article is Martin Straka. He is a center from, now Josh, this town is spelled Plzen. I didn't look up how to say it, but I know what those...
Pleasant?
Well, with consonants running together, it's like you say the P or the L, right? You say one or the other. So I'll just go with, like, I don't know, you're probably right. Pleasant, Czechoslovakia. That's right. He's from Czechoslovakia. We'll just say that. Straka was the 19th overall pick in the 1992 NHL entry draft by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Straka played in 954 regular season games over a 15-season NHL career. Straka played with 6 different teams during his career, had stints with the Penguins, Rangers, Senators, Panthers, Islanders, and Kings. Awards and accomplishments, nothing for NHL hardware individual awards. He did win an Olympic gold medal in 1998 with the Czech Republic, and he also won a 2005 World Championships gold medal, again with the Czech Republic. For his career, Straka scored 257 goals, 460 assists for 717 points. He made the playoffs in 11 of his 15 NHL seasons, compiling a stat line of 26 goals, 44 assists for 70 points in 106 playoff games played. Best season of his career from a point standpoint was his 2000-2001 season, where Straka had 27 goals, 68 assists for 95 points in 82 games played with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Straka had 6 seasons of 20-plus goals and 5 seasons of 60-plus points. So he wasn't a slouch by any means. He was a definite, consistent point producer. And you kind of mentioned it too. I didn't know a lot about Straka until I researched it. I definitely had heard the name, but that was about it. I didn't know anything really about his playing style. But from what I researched, during the late 90s, he was known as an elite two-way player due to his explosive speed and on-ice vision. And I found a little quote from Mike G. Morelli, an NHL.com staff writer, and he said, "The thing I admired most about Straka was his consistency over his 15 NHL seasons. He always seemed to be around the puck and gave maximum effort every shift. There you go. That's what I want to. I want to be known for giving maximum effort every shift. So I think that sums him up probably pretty well. Straka, however, did suffer a broken leg during the 2001-02 season, which limited kind of what I just said about his speed. And it took him actually a couple years to fully recover from. Sounded like it was a pretty nasty break. Right now, after his playing career, Straka is the current GM and part owner of HC Skoda Plzeň of the Czech Extraliga. I think if I just change my volume or my inflection, it makes it sound like I know what I'm saying. But I don't know what I'm saying. So that's what we got from Martin Straka. We do have fun facts.
Czechoslovakian words are hard to pronounce.
Yeah, it's any of those languages that have consonants without vowels in the middle of them are just terrible for me to try to pronounce. All right, we do have fun facts. We had a couple. He is the first player in NHL history to wear number 82. There you go. So he had a lot of runway. He wears number 82. He's got a lot of years to make up that why he can be the best player to wear number 82.
That surprises me. That's not a bad number, right?
I don't think so. I mean, he was the first. There's probably players now. I think there is players now that wear it, but he was the first.
Well, and this just hit me for the first time in the months that we've done this. 100 numbers, 98, right? I suppose.
Well, there's zeros,
and then 00. Does anyone does 00? Is that a hockey thing?
I can't remember. There's a rule now. I know 0. I think would it be Glenn Hall if I remember right, but I think NHL made a rule around. No, 0 was sorry. I apologize. Not Glenn Hall. 00 was John Davidson, but I think the NHL finally made a rule that you can't wear 00 anymore.
Gotcha. Well, regardless, it's a lot of numbers, and it's not like a football team where there's 53 players. So maybe it does kind of make sense that these numbers get a little thin at spots.
True. Straka, or second fun fact, Straka wore number 82 his whole career except when he played with the Panthers, where he flipped the digits and wore number 28. I couldn't find a reason why. I have no idea unless someone was wearing 82 already when he got there. They followed Straka's lead and said 82 looks like a cool number and decided to wear it, or he just decided to flip it, or the Panthers had a rule. Who knows? I couldn't really find anything why, so maybe one of our astute Florida Panther listeners will let us know. So that's
Martin Straka aficionados out there. Got to be a ton of them.
There might be. You never know. All right, from a rookie card, we have his 1992 and 93 Upper Deck, number 559, Young Guns. PSA 10 has a pop of 13 with a gem rate of 52%. However, I did find a sale in January of this year via eBay, paid for in Terapeak for $63.45 US. The BGS 9.5 has a pop of 4, the gem rate of 80%, and I could not find any sales for that. So that is what we get.
I somehow have mad respect for someone that dropped $63 on a Martin Straka rookie. That's a collector, man.
Oh yeah, but pop 13, there you go. You're all
yeah,
and it does not. We're going to have a string of kind of names that people might not have heard of or are lesser known coming up. 82 and 83, or sorry, 83 and 84. 85, we're going to have someone we have all heard of, I think, but it's okay. Just to give people a little heads up.
We're going to learn about new players on this show.
Hey, that's why I love doing it. I get a lot of information and matches our episode number. So that was that was number 82.
All right, we're going to move on to Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus, another playoffs edition. Like we always do, Troy, we'll start with Who's Hot. It's hard not to go with Joe Pavelski right out of the gate.
We might have to rename the segment.
Yeah, no kidding. Since coming back from his head injury sustained against the Wild and inflicted by Matt Dumba, Pavelski has been on an absolute tear in scoring goals. The 38-year-old Dallas forward has 8 goals, Troy, in 7 playoff games this postseason. And you can throw in a couple assists as well, so 10 points in 7 games. Not bad. His 72 career playoff goals ties him with Alexander Ovechkin for 14th most playoff goals all time. And also the most playoff goals amongst active players. So him and Ovi both have 72 and are tied for 14th all time and most amongst active players. You would have thought Joe Pavelski for one of the all-time greats in playoff goals scored, would you?
I would not have, but what's been crazy about this playoffs is obviously I have not watched every game with 100% attention, but I try to have the games on. And every time the Dallas game is on, I might be working on the show or I might be doing something with cards or whatever. Every time in the background, Pavelski off the post, Pavelski in front of the net. It's just like every time I hear his name in the periphery, and I'm like, where did he come? I mean, I obviously know who he is, and he's been a great player, but he seems like he just stepped it up. So maybe Dumba, I know I shouldn't joke about this, but knocked something around in his head, and he's just like, here, the trigger went, and now he's going to be a world beater.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And going back to the regular season, he actually played all 82 games, which is crazy in of itself for a 38-year-old.
Yep.
He did have 28 goals, 49 assists for 77 points in the regular season. Not too bad. Teamed up for most of the year with Jason Robertson and Rope Hintz to form the Pavelski and Sons line. I just love that. I think that's pretty awesome. For his career, Pavelski has played in the NHL now, Troy, for 17 seasons. A good chunk or most of his career with San Jose, I think, as most would know. And in 1,250 regular season games, he has 449 goals, 552 assists for 1,001 points. So he got over that 1,000 point mark this year. And really, the Stars probably need a little bit more Pavelski postseason magic, Troy, as they face the Kraken in a do-or-die round 2, game 7 coming up. It's been a crazy series to follow, and we'll get more into the playoffs in a little bit. From looking at hockey cards, Pavelski is a 2006 young gun. His PSA 10 popped 74 only. Last sold for $250 on May 4th. It's up about 4% in the past 2 weeks. When you look at these early 2000 guys, like 2004, 5, all the way up to like 2010, and again, we had young kids. We were early in our careers, not real involved in the hockey card hobby. But when you consider like all these pops are well under 100, it makes you think that the hobby must have been a lot smaller back then.
Oh, yeah, a lot smaller.
So that's Joe Pavelski, first guy in who's hot. You got the next one, Troy?
I do. We're going to Sergei Bobrovsky. Oh, man. I'll say this, and we're going to kind of get to this in a little bit, but goalies have not had the greatest playoffs. I think Bobrovsky has stepped up and is probably playing the best out of any of the goalies. He was an absolute star during the Panthers playoff series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. During the round 2 series against Toronto, Bobrovsky went 4 wins, 1 loss with a 1.89 goals against average and a .942 save percentage. And if anyone watched Game 5, Florida versus Toronto, again, Bobrovsky was just a legend, stopping 50 of 52 shots to help Florida clinch the series in overtime. Josh, you sent me the little note that he lost, 20 pounds during the game?
20 pounds.
But so Bobrovsky lost 20 pounds during that game. And I've mentioned this before on the show where goalies, now with how the nutrition is and how they keep maintaining and all that stuff on them, they'll weigh them before games, and then afterwards, however much weight they lose, they need to kind of get that weight back in water before they're allowed to leave. So it'd be interesting how long he kind of stay there, sit there and drink some water. And
so they can't leave the arena until they get their weight back?
Some programs do it. Every program's different.
Okay.
But it's generally a good practice to probably get your weight back and drink water. And
did you see the picture of him, too, after the game, how skinny he looked?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, you lose so much water weight. It's all that water just goes out of you. You sweat it all out, and you got to get it back. For the playoffs, Bobrovsky has 7 wins, 2 losses with a 2.82 goals against average and a .918 save percentage. Not the greatest, but he seems like he's just coming into his own as the playoffs keep going on. And I think Florida, they're situated to make a really special run the next, they got the conference final coming up, and we'll see what happens there. But man, they are looking like a team that is built for the playoffs, and they are playing fantastic. All right.
Well, you're a goalie coach, and you love the position, and he's kind of saving the respect for goalies right now because it's been brutal.
Yeah, it's been a rough go. All right, Bobrovsky's rookie card is a 2010 Young Guns. The PSA 10 has a pop of 91 with a gem rate of 56%. Last sale of this card that I could find was $129 on May 7th of 2023 via an eBay auction and paid for in Terapeak. I just kind of went back and looked in November of 2022. This card was selling in the $70 US range, but it has its moments. It fluctuates really all over the place. In summer, right before the summer, it whizzed up at like $140 US, but then it'll drop on the next sale, and it doesn't sell that frequently. But it's kind of one of those odd ones. You just kind of watch it, and if you see it drop in a favorable place and you're interested in buying it, then that's when you jump in.
He's earning that big paycheck now. So much of the narrative since he came to Florida is how much they pay him.
Yep.
And how mediocre, I guess, he's been is a good way to put it. But man, this playoffs, he's carrying the team. Okay, we got one more guy in Who's Hot. And honestly, it feels a little cliche at times to put Connor McDavid in Who's Hot because he could probably be there every week. But at some point, it gets hard to ignore. And he's been amazing these playoffs. Through 11 games played, 19 points, Troy, 7 goals, 12 assists. That is a cool 1.73 points per game. Not too bad. Against the Knights, he has 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points in 5 games played. And yet, the Oilers are down 3-2. They're going to have to win 2 straight to move on to the conference finals. If they don't win the series, I just wonder how loud the wasted talent questions are going to start to become at this point, now that he's been in, 6-7 years into his career, 8 years. I don't even know what it's been. But, man, with a guy like this and the fact that they haven't made the Cup finals, now they're still in it. I don't think anyone would be shocked if Edmonton won 2 games in a row at this point. It's just mind-boggling to me to think that he is basically playing in an elimination game, I think, later today, right? So we'll see what happens. McDavid, of course, is a 2015 Young Gun. His PSA 10 popped 2,517, has a 71% gem rate. Last sold, Troy, for $3,377 US on May 11th. It is up 11% in the past couple weeks. And when I think about this card and really his market in particular, if they do pull this off and win 2 straight, this card's going to be up by the time we do Thursday's show. If they get bounced in Game 6, I'm guessing he kind of starts to go into off-season dip territory.
Well, they better hope their goalie can figure it out, or whoever they're going to start. Who knows? I just put the names in the hat, draw it, and go with it. Maybe not have one of your key cogs get suspended by doing a stupid instigator penalty at the end of Game 5. That might help you, or Game 4. That might help you as well. They're Edmonton.
Well, speaking of goalies, Troy, the struggle bus pulled up, and holy cow, is it full. Lots of equipment bags. Almost every seat is full. Is this the fullest struggle bus that we've ever had at this point?
It might be. Struggle bus has definitely picked up some riders.
Well, we'll get into that in a second, but one guy we want to start with and kind of sticking with the Oilers theme here is Evander Kane. Again, with the Oilers on the brink of elimination, and their 2 megastars, and McDavid and Draisaitl producing well, they need a bunch of teammates to really step up and produce. And for Evander Kane, it's been a little bit of a rough playoffs so far, at least from a production standpoint. Troy, through 11 games played, he has 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points. In his last 5 games, though, in the series against the Golden Knights here, he's got zilch, nada, nothing.
No good.
The 31-year-old forward has had an injury-riddled season. He did take that scary cut to the wrist from Pat Maroon early on, where his really life was in danger. And so at that, and I think other things limited him to 41 games. He did end up, though, in those 41 games with 16 goals and 12 assists for 28 points. He is a career .67 point per game guy. So, yeah, he really needs to step it up. And they need him and Nugent Hopkins and Bouchard, who's played well. But they need other people to, in addition to a goalie, to kind of step up and save the season for him. It seems like against the Knights, he's made more news for not, I guess, winning kind of plays, and whether it's cross-checking Alex Pietrangelo or flipping off people in the stand or whatever was going on with people in the Vegas fans and in the stands. So
that lady that screamed at him. Now, full disclosure, I don't think Kane flipped her off. I think he just laughed. But that lady was going crazy. Like, she went into full Karen mode on the glass there. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, again, I guess not that it's his fault, but that's kind of where he's making his headlines, not scoring goals, which is what they needed to do. Kane is a 2009 Young Gun. His PSA 9, because these pops are so low, has a pop 55, last sold for $25, Troy, on May 6th. There was a PSA 10 sale in January, pop 55 as well, so they have identical pop for $118 US on January 27th. Not a big hobby chase for Kane, of course, I guess, unless you're a creditor.
Yeah, no kidding. Read about Evander Kane's kind of personal life, and it's a little crazy at times. A lot of stuff going on there.
Been an adventure. We'll call it an
adventure.
Okay, Troy, the struggle bus is full, and you're about to get into why right now.
All right. The struggle bus is full. It's been picking up random people here, right and left, but NHL goalies are on the struggle bus. I think it's the first time we put a group of players, but man, I don't know. This playoffs has just seemed rough for goalies. It's almost, well, I was thinking this to myself. That's why it kind of led me down this road. I'm like, I feel like goalies are getting pulled all the time. It seems like a lot more. So I just did
every game.
Yeah, this is not a in-depth scientific analysis, so please don't. I'm using very, let's just say, cherry-picked results. But as of the end of the Dallas Stars game on Saturday night, we have had 21 games so far in round 2. Of these 21 games, we have seen a goalie get pulled in 11 of these games, which is over 50% of the games a goalie has been pulled. To me, that is crazy. It's like, what is going on?
It's astounding.
It is absolutely astounding. I will say, though, during the playoffs, to me, the hook is a lot shorter when a coach will pull a goalie. I think in the regular season, there's a little more leeway to let them stay in there. But in the playoffs, the hook is a lot shorter. And there's different reasons. Obviously, just pulling a goalie for poor performance, that happens. We see it all the time. There are also times when it's really not the goalie's fault for the goals given up. They're playing their best. The team in front of them is kind of terrible, not covering assignments, all that fun stuff. But a coach may pull the goalie just to try to give his team a boost. You hear about the studio guys say that all the time. They're always talking about, do they pull the goalie at the start of the period? Maybe give the team a boost. That happens. They try to do that. I always look at it as kind of a baseball manager trying to get kicked out of a game or maybe rally his team. It's kind of the same kind of deal here. So back to the whole goalie situation where they get pulled. You also have situations where the goalie is pulled just to get him out and start resting him for the next game. If he's like Ottinger. Ottinger's probably going to start, even though he got pulled last game. And the talk was, well, let's get him out of the game, get him rested. Hopefully he'll get his head right, come back and play well. Again, just a lot of stuff going on with these playoffs and goalies getting pulled. So I did a little bit of comparison. And this is not my scientific study, but I looked at round 2 of the 2021-22 playoffs to see how the numbers looked during those playoffs with goalies being pulled. In round 2 of the 21-22 playoffs, there are a total of 22 games played overall, with only 5 of those games having a goalie pulled for a replacement, or just around 23%. Again, it's just one point in time versus another point in time. It's not a big, thorough analysis, but I thought, just to me, the eye test, everything going on, I'm like, man, I really think goalies are getting pulled a lot more than I remember from last year. And it kind of seems that way. Now, I didn't go through the whole playoffs, but it is interesting how it's almost more than half the games in round 2, a goalie's been pulled.
Well, it kind of makes sense, and it goes along with this, but the amount of goals being scored is crazy.
Yeah.
And we knew in the regular season that we had a historically huge amount of goals that were scored. And at least, I don't know what you thought, but my feeling was, well, the playoffs will tighten up.
Yeah.
And we'll see a lot more 2-1 games. It's like 5-3, 8-2. So,
yeah, it is. Whoa. It is nuts. It is absolutely nuts. So here's the list of how many times in round 2 each goalie has been pulled, just for reference. Ottinger's been pulled twice. Skinner's been pulled twice. Schmid's been pulled twice. Grubauer's been pulled once. Brossoit has been pulled once. And then he was also pulled another time, but he was injured. That one don't count. We throw that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Samsonov pulled once. Frederik Andersen pulled once. And Vanasek pulled once. Again, that is just for round 2, not the whole playoffs. And my last point was kind of getting to that. I think this plays into that bigger narrative around how scoring is up this year in the NHL. how skaters have definitely pulled away from goalies in the scoring / save comparison compartment. And it'll be interesting to see what happens just going forward. Are we just going to keep having goalies getting pulled all the time? But it is definitely a well-deserved spot on the bus for the NHL goalie group. Maybe they just nominated someone to be their leader to ride the bus around. But wow, that'd probably be Schmidt or Skinner. You take your pick which one you want to lead that group into the struggle bus. But again, very interesting stuff. You know what's very interesting is trying to find exactly how many times a goalie's been pulled during a game. Because you can go look at those box charts and it will show like 2 numbers, but it won't tell you like when
that they're pulled.
And you can look at games started, but I actually found the shift charts on NHL.com were the easiest way to figure it out. There.
Oh. Pro tip.
There you go.
Well, and going back to Officer Bob real quick for a second, that's what gives you confidence right now, I think, in Florida, that they are a serious cup contender, because he's the one guy that seems to be the goalie you can count on at this point. But as we know, right, and we've said this all year, it's like he could let in 17 goals the next game. You just don't know this year at the NHL goalies. All right, we're going to move on and do a quick playoffs update and kind of tie in the hobby to it. So, Troy, what was your favorite Leafs win the cup this year moment?
What a disappointing end. I mean, when they win the first round, your big guys don't step up at the end. It was just sad and disappointing. Like I said, I was the Leafs are my team. They're my original 6 team I was cheering for. And they whimpered quietly into the night. Oh, well. Actually, they didn't go quietly. They had the overtime. We're going to hear about that goal. That was a goal, wasn't a goal forever. That will be one of those things they will always play. I actually went and read that. I thought I had a really good article on all the rules behind it. And my head hurt after reading it. So
that's one of those goals. If you're a Leafs fan, you're irate.
Oh.
But you're more rational if you're, of course, not a fan of that team. Well, the first round curse is broken, as we know. Yep. So I suppose that's a good thing. But they ran into that Florida buzzsaw and Officer Bob, and they made pretty quick work of the Maple Leafs in round 2. So I think the big question, of course, and you're seeing lots of articles out there already about this, is what are they going to do with the team? They have this core of Matthew, Marner, Tavares, and possibly Nylander, who's really fast, by the way. I haven't watched him play all that much. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That guy
that goal he scored where he cuts in and chips it over the shoulder was just incredible.
So in looking at that core, during the playoffs, Matthews in 11 games played had 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. So a point per game. He's 25. Marner had 3 goals, 11 assists for 14 points in 11 games. Good point production. He's 26. In listening, especially to the TNT guys, though, and Bissonnette, they seem to think that, or the consensus from the experts is that as well as Marner did points-wise, he got pushed off the puck or muscled off the puck constantly in this series. And, well, I think in looking at Toronto overall, the turnovers is one of the things, of course, that really did them in. Nylander had 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points in 11 games. He's 27. So he's tiny, right? Like, he's like really, really small, isn't he? In watching him play, he just looks like he didn't.
I'll say this the other way. He didn't stand out to me as being a giant or a tall guy or anything.
Because I'm out there and I'm thinking, man, he's got to be like 5'6". NHL.com has him listed at 6 feet.
Maybe
so either he's so compact when he skates that he looks like he's some teeny tiny guy, but that kind of is blowing my mind. I just don't believe for a second that dude is 6 feet tall. And then you have Tavares, who had 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points in 11 games played. Man, I forget that guy is only 32. Doesn't he seem like he's like 70?
Yeah, it seems like he's been around forever. Well, he has been around for a while, but yeah, it's crazy when you hear he's still under 35.
Feels like he's more like Tom Brady's age than 32 years old. Is that, to you, is that a Stanley Cup winning core, or are you retooling the team this summer?
I think you got to retool. Look how they did not, when that overtime game started in Game 5, you just knew Florida was winning it. Florida had the puck. They were controlling everything. Yes, Toronto would get a couple rushes here and there, but I just think they looked tired. I don't know if that team is especially built for the playoffs. I don't know what you do exactly or who you go after. I think they need to figure that out, but I'm glad they got past round one, but there's just something that team needs to keep going. And you probably need I don't know what your answer is in goal going forward, what you're looking for there, but maybe that's another place they can look at, but you never know. I just wish Toronto could get further. I'm glad they got out of the first round, but I don't know. There's something I think needs to happen with that team.
You're not buying the Joseph Woll hype?
That's
going on right now?
I don't think he played bad. Maybe he's someone you can build on. He's pretty young, too, if I remember right off the top of my head. And the only reason I think he's young is because I'm remembering his Young Guns where he looks like he's in high school, if I remember right. I think he's 24. Yeah. So he's pretty
young guy.
Young.
He's a 2020 Young Gun, Series 1. There is some hobby hype around him right now. He's going for about $15 US raw. Mid-February is like a $5 card. Well, I'm talking to, you got to look this up real quick because look up his Young Guns canvas card. It's one of the cooler Young Guns canvases that I've seen. Basically like a headshot with just him in the mask.
Oh yeah, I see it. That is cool.
Very, very cool card. Another young guy that maybe they found they can count on, and we've talked about a bunch, is Matthew Nyes. Played great through the playoffs, got body slammed by Sam Bennett, and missed most of the series with Florida with the resulting concussion. And again, he might be a candidate for Series 1 next year, young gun, and more of a chase as we thought. So they do have a couple of young guys that stepped up, but I'm kind of in your line of thinking that they're probably retooling. And I mean, that would be a major shakeup if you're going to get rid of Marner or Matthews. I mean, Austin Matthews, it's just crazy to think that I don't know if I believe that would happen, but maybe it's time to move Marner and see what you can get.
Could Joseph Woll, now that I've said that, have the most, I don't know what the right word is, have a great Young Guns canvas card? Is it a Young Guns canvas? I can't remember now.
Yeah, it is Young Guns canvas.
So his Young Gun canvas card looks great. It's got his mask right up close. And then his regular Young Guns is just almost laughable, where he's posing with his hockey stick. It's one of those profile ones that we love, where they have.
That's like the COVID.
They have
COVID
the
rookies.
studio
They're
shots,
all terrible,
basically, or whatever, and they're just kind of funny.
Glamour shot Young Guns, basically, for Joseph Woll.
What do you know off the top of your head? I'm going to look it up just so I don't sound like a complete idiot. What is Matthews' situation on contract? So he's a free agent after 24-25. So that, to me, is...
Now would be the time to trade him, though, because you don't want to let him walk as a free agent, and you would get potentially... I just can't see them doing that. How do you replace that?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, we'll move on to the Devils here. They are gonzo too. Like the Leafs, they were pretty easily handled by the Hurricanes. How did Jack Hughes do in his first playoffs run, Troy? He had 6 goals, 5 assists for 11 points in 12 games played. Not too bad. Brother Luke, of course, got in there, played a few games too, getting 2 assists in 3 games played. Like Matthew Nyes, he's probably a Series 1 young gun. Looks to be, I'm assuming Hughes will be a fixture in the Devils lineup starting beginning of next season based on how he finished this year. Another prospect for the Devils, Troy, that's had some steam in the year is a 21-year-old Dawson Mercer. Made a little bit of noise during the playoffs. 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in 12 games played. Coming off his second regular season where he increased his goals and points from the prior year, tallying 27 goals, 29 assists, and 82 games played. So what's that, 56 points? That's not too bad. Mercer is a 2021 young gun. His PSA 10 popped 637. That's a lot. 61% gem rate. Last sold for $77 US on May 13th, down about 15% in the past month. Then we got looking at the Devils. The big question is, what do we have with Akira Schmid? It's like if you watched half their games, you might think he is like the second coming of Patrick Waugh or Dominik Hasek, and you watch the other games, and he is in like your Elvis Merzlikins territory.
Well, yeah, he's going to give every coach on that staff a heart attack. It's like at some point you felt it would just be better to go grab the shooter tutor from the storage room and throw that thing in net. Because, man, Schmid looked great at times, but then looked just terrible. Ugh.
I don't know. I can't imagine they'll be happy with Vanacek as their number 1 goalie next year. I mean, when you're riding a young rookie basically through the biggest games of the playoffs, that tells me you've lost confidence in the guy who you brought in to be the number 1 guy. Yeah. But So getting back to Schmid real quick, his actually playoff stats weren't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you how up and down his game was. In 9 games played, he started 8. He was 4-4 with a 2.35 goals against and a .921 save percentage. Big time up and down, like we said. And Schmid's Young Guns are now coming back down to earth. They're selling for raw in like the $8 to $10 range. I looked it up, Troy, just because I was interested. On May 2nd, it peaked at $52 US dollars for a raw Schmid Young.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, we've all been there. We've all been there.
Somebody got really excited after he had a good game. I think, though, in contrasting the Devils to the Maple Leafs, to me, this was a big stepping stone year. I think getting into round 2 was a good accomplishment. I'm sure they would have liked a better showing against the Hurricanes. But the Hurricanes are a really solid team. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're tough. They don't have a Ovechkin or Crosby or someone like that, but they're really solid up and down the lineup. And the Devils are a nice young team, a lot of star power. And I don't know, I think they should be good for a number of years. And I would consider this a success if I was a Devils fan. Would you?
Yeah, I think I'd be really excited for what the future holds if they can figure out the whole goalie thing and see what you're going to do there.
Okay, so last thing I want to touch on the playoffs is, I don't know if this thought has crossed your mind, but are we looking at a potential nightmare scenario here for the hobby and for the NHL for the final 4 teams?
Do you think the NHL has got the conspiracy machines going? They're meeting with the refs right now. They're saying, okay, here's what you got to call for penalties. We can't have this scenario where it's Florida and who would be the other?
Well, yeah. Well, here's where we stand. We have Florida's in the Final Four. Carolina's in. Neither are very sexy from an NHL or for a hobby perspective, right? You have Florida, who, with them and the Lightning, form the Bermuda Triangle for the hobby, as we say all the time.
I feel Florida love is getting better. I think it's growing.
Maybe.
That's just me, though.
Then you got Carolina, who's not real sexy from a hobby perspective. Maybe Seth Jarvis a little bit, or if Kochetkov somehow got in and went on a tear for a few games. But I don't know if anyone's really, not a lot of Sebastian Aho or your guy, Jacob Slavin.
Kochetkov. Even though he's only played 1 game, I think, 1 or 2.
And they got Ranta and Anderson. They're going to ride those guys unless one of them gets hurt, I would think. And then, with Florida and Carolina, we have Vegas, who's got 2 chances to knock off the Golden Knights or the Oilers, and there's almost no chases for the hobby.
Saying Mark Stone isn't a big chase?
No. And then Seattle, who I know Beniers scored last night, but he's kind of been the more on the quiet end for really the past couple months. So if you have Florida, Carolina, Vegas, and Seattle, that is not a hobby all-star.
Well, Seattle
crew there.
Seattle and Bowie is probably one of your top 5 chases that there's something going on there.
And again, this might not happen, right? Dallas could win Game 7. Then you have that whole crew in the still in the playoffs. And then, of course, if Edmonton wins a couple games, then we still have the biggest stars, some of the biggest stars in the league there. But, okay, here's the list, Troy, of NHL and hobby stars that are already knocked out of the playoffs. We have Pasta gone, Matthews, Marner, Kaprizov, Patrick Kane, Shesterkin, Panarin, Jack Hughes, Ilya Sorokin, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar. And then by the next show, if Edmonton and Dallas lose, then we're out McDavid, Draisaitl, Ottinger, J-Rob, all gone. Now, the one silver lining could be that would Matthew Tkachuk finally kind of have his hobby breakout moment, because there's literally nobody else to get excited about at this point. I don't know. That could happen. But so are you, if that happens, right? If it's Seattle, Vegas, Carolina, and Florida, what do you think happens to like TV ratings, fan interest, hobby hype over the final 2 rounds of the playoffs here?
I'm sure for the TV side it will be impacted if it's one of those lesser known teams. Boy, I don't know from the hobby standpoint. I mean, there'll still be interest, but yeah, this dip will probably start on some of those guys. But if you lose, you really don't want to lose that many stars right away. I really want Edmonton to make it just from the hobby and the and the hype and the TV, and maybe the NHL can market McDavid for a series or 2. If he made the Stanley Cup, they could probably try to figure out a way to market him, but it's not looking good. I don't know. It's a little bit worrisome, even though Carolina was my pick to win the Stanley Cup. I almost want a team to get there. That would be better for the hobby, but it is what it is.
Can Edmonton count on Skinner for 2 games?
Edmonton, I don't know what you do there. Because now it's like, now the debates, is it Campbell? Do you start Campbell? Because I don't know what you do.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. So we'll know more by Thursday's show. All right, Trey, we got to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Thanks to them for helping to make our show possible. Be sure to go to slabsharks.com for a link to their current auction, which is live on eBay. Their weekly auctions end every Thursday night. This week's auction will not disappoint. Some monsters in it. I was perusing it this morning on Slab Sharks eBay and stumbled upon these crazy cards, Troy. This is just 5 of the many cards in this week's auction. So there's a 2014 SP Authentic Pasta Future Watch Auto out of $9.99, of course, BGS 9.510. There's a 2010 Patrick Waugh Limited Logos patch auto out of 50. Amazing card. A 2020 The Cup Kirill Kaprizov RPA out of 99. Ho-hum. A 2016 The Cup Austin Matthews Rookie Limited Logos RPA out of 50. BGS 910. That is a beautiful card. And then a lot of people like their Fanimation. There's also a 2022 Upper Deck Connor McDavid Fanimation PSA 10. Tons more. So I just stopped at 5. Could have gone on and on. Be sure to go to slabsharks.com and click the link to their eBay auction. And if you're a Canadian hockey card collector or looking to sell a card or maybe 20, move them for some cash, we'd strongly recommend using Slab Sharks eBay consignment services. You may ask, why, Troy? Well, I'll tell you. Because they make your life easy as a seller by handling all the not-so-fun stuff that involves selling your cards, like creating listings, answering buyer questions, hunting down payment, shipping them out. All you got to do as a seller is just sit back and get paid. Slab Sharks also ships to the U.S., and your cards will be featured in their popular and growing weekly auctions, exposing them to a large and growing as well buying pool. So be sure to visit slabsharks.com for complete consignment information. Okay, we're going to move on to hobby news. And we have our Vezina. Speaking of goalies, Can they just not give up the Vezina this year and say, we're going to take a year off? But
we'll take a year off.
We're done. No. But there are 3 finalists, and you're going to run through them for us.
3 finalists for the Vezina, which, if you are not aware of what the Vezina Trophy definition is, it is given annually to the goalie voted the best at his position by NHL managers. I believe, Josh, voting is done before the playoffs start, if I remember right, or they don't take the playoffs into consideration for who wins this award. Because if that was the case, Bob Roski would definitely be in the conversation. Right now, the 3 finalists named are Ilya Sorokin, Connor Hellebuyck, and Linus Ullmark. So those are the 3 we got. They're the finalists. So I decided I just want to see, let's start with these 3, look at their basic stats, see what we can figure out. Sorokin, 31 wins, 22 losses, 7 overtime losses, a 2.34 goals against, 0.924 save percentage, 6 shutouts in 62 games played. So his 31 wins ranks him 9th for the NHL this year. 2.34 goals against is 6th. His .924 save percentage ranks 3rd. 6 shutouts is 1st. And 62 games played is 3rd. I am a complete Sorokin Bobo. I haven't started to PC him, but he's definitely one of my favorite goalies just from how he plays the game. And if you watch him and break his film down, he is definitely up there for me.
Okay, question for you then. You're the GM of a new expansion team. You got to start your team with either the young Ilya Sorokin or the young Jake Ottinger. What you doing?
I took Sorokin.
Ooh. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Even though I PC Ottinger, I'd take Sorokin. The second finalist, Connor Hellebuyck. 37 wins, 25 losses, 2 overtime losses, 2.49 goals against average, 0.92 save percentage, 4 shutouts, 64 games played. So with Hellebuyck, his 37 wins ranks 3rd, 2.49 goals against ranks 11th, 0.920 save percentage ranks 5th, 4 shutouts ranks 5th, and 64 games played ranks 1st. I've always been a fan of Hellebuyck. He's been a stalwart for a long time now.
Him and Sorokin played a lot of games this year.
Yep. And the sad thing is that's with the new game management. If this was 15 years ago, they probably played 75 games. And But
Sure.
they did both play a lot of games, even in this new era of we got to protect our players physically and make sure goalies don't play 82 games a year. Third finalist, Linus Ullmark. 40 wins, 6 losses, 1 overtime loss, 1.89 goals against average, .938 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 49 games played. So Ullmark's 40 wins ranks first. His 1.89 goals against average ranks first. .938 save percentage ranks first. 2 shutouts is not even in the top 10, and 49 games played is not even in the top 10. So there we go. That's the basic stats. A lot of information there. But
Leinart played 49 games and lost 6, and then he lost 4 games and 7 in the playoffs.
yeah,
Ouch.
It's nuts. Just the playoffs were not kind to Boston. Yeah, and this whole goalie thing, it's really, you get these top stats that we've heard about forever. Goals against average, save percentage, shutouts. I kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper. I want to look at some of the advanced stats, or maybe one of the advanced stats, which I think is growing in acceptability or usability, and that's goals saved above expected. And again, we've kind of talked about it, but if you want to read up on the definition, expected goals is basically looking at how many, every shot they can give a value to, if it should win in the net or what the percentage of that would score. And they can take that and say, okay, how many goals did a goalie save above expected by looking at the actual goals scored on him. There's a ton of different models. There's so many different inputs that can go into these models. I used Money Puck's model, which is a really nice site for looking at a lot of advanced statistical stuff. But if you look at the top 3 finalists and you rank them by goals saved above expected, first would be Ullmark at 42.4. Sorokin is next at 38.7. And then Hellebuck is third at 30.8. Now, let's take those numbers, but let's even go a little bit granular and try to account for the different workloads. So we'll look at goals saved above expected per 60 minutes. And even there, Ullmark still leads with .883. Sorokin would be next at .647. And then Hellebuck would be at .489. I'm starting to see a trend here, even though it was one that I don't know. Ullmark just seems like has such an odd year. But you start looking at even all the numbers that the GMs and these people are going to look at. And I think if you went through the history, I think I read an article, it's almost every time it's the save percentage leader that wins the Vezina is kind of a trend that we see, which I thought was maybe just people being lazy when they vote. Of the 3 finalists, only Hellebuck has won the award previously. He won the award in 2020. And the snub factor, I think you can definitely make some arguments for Juicy Saros or Yuzi Saros. Vasi, you could probably make some good arguments for, and Shesterkin. Definitely jumped to the top of my mind. I didn't go through their stats to do this full snubbery. See how bad.
What about our guy Gus?
Gus, yeah, he's in the top 10 of a lot of stuff, but I don't think he's better than the 3 that were nominated or these guys that I just brought up that were snubbed. If I had to say, my heart is with Sorokin, but Ullmark, I think, is probably going to win it. That's how I'm looking at it.
To me, when it comes down to Ullmark is, and especially if this was voted on before the playoffs began, it seems like it's not even possible he won't win. But I just don't know what he's going to be next year and going forward. Is this going to be like the one guy who hit 46 home runs one year in baseball and then never hit more than 12 again for
Brady
the rest
Anderson?
of his yeah, kind of like the Brady Anderson kind of guy. For some reason, I just don't have this huge amount of confidence that he's going to be quite the world beater he was next year, but I guess we'll see. Okay, Hart Trophy finalists also announced, Troy. The Hart Trophy is an annual award, of course, given to the player adjudged, there's that adjudged word again, to be the most valuable to his team. The winner is selected in a poll of the Professional Hockey Writers Association in all NHL cities at the end of the regular season. So it's most valuable to his team, not most valuable in the league. That's kind of weird in how they word that.
Oh, that's what I always knew it as. I think isn't that how most MVP awards are? You're most valuable to your team, right?
I suppose. Well, anyways, your finalists this year are Connie McDavid, David Pasta Pasternak and Matthew Tkachuk. Any surprises for you there, or is that kind of the logical?
This to me is the most locked one in. It's McDavid's, and you could just move on if you wanted to. You could say McDavid next. He had an unbelievable year. He's definitely the MVP, but we can definitely look at some of the snubs and some other people that should have been maybe nominated or all that fun stuff.
If you were looking for a snub, I guess Draisaitl, J-Rob, maybe Nikita Kucherov or Nathan McKinnon would have been potential candidates. So I was thinking about Leon, and the last time, Troy, that 2 of the 3 Hart Trophy finalists were on the same team was in 2001 when Lemieux and Yager were 2 of the 3 finalists. Funny enough, though, neither of them won. I went to Joe Sakic that year.
Yeah,
that's kind of like the Hobie Baker this year, where we had Logan Cooley and Matthew Nyes for the Gophers as finalists, and Adam Fantilli wins it from Michigan. So you kind of already mentioned this, it feels like there's no chance that McDavid doesn't win it. So assuming he does, he's already a 2-time winner, won the Hart Trophy in 2017 and 2021. Neither Pasta or Tkachuk has won it before, so it would be first time for those guys. If McDavid does win his 3rd, he joined Troy in a pretty elite company with a small list of players that have won 3 or more. So it's Howie Morenz, Eddie Shore, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, Bobby Clark, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Alex Ovechkin. Those are the guys that have won 3 or more Hart Trophies. Gretzky, by the way, only won 8 in a row and 9 out of 10 years.
Good for him. Yeah. He made it.
That's it. My take is if McDavid wins it as expected, it really kind of, his career then comes down to winning the Stanley Cup at this point. He has almost every other sort of legacy building achievement that you would need to be considered an all-time great. And considering he hasn't won the Cup and they're on the doorstep of the golf course, down 3 games to 2 against the Knights, I also looked up the list of greatest NHL players to never win the Stanley Cup. So here's the list, Troy. Marcel Dion, Adam Oates, my guy Peter Stastny, Dale Hawerchuk, Eric Lindros. So given that that's kind of what Google says are the greatest players to never win the Cup, would you already put McDavid at the top of that list right now as the greatest NHL player to
definitely could be argued.
Never win?
Should be up on top of that list. If he doesn't win a Cup when he retires, he'll sure be at the top of it. Maybe this is the year. Who knows?
Maybe this is the year. Who knows? So that's your Hart Trophy finalists. Okay, Troy, what was your favorite Ryan Reynolds is going to buy the Senators moment?
Yeah, I saw that.
It's over. It appears that Reynolds' bid to purchase the team will not move forward. It sounds like his group, is what they call it, wanted an exclusive negotiating window, and that wasn't granted. So they're bowing out. So There goes, Troy, half of our celebrity potential ownership pool for the Senators.
Yeah.
It all comes down to Snoop Dogg now. Can him and his team pull it off and bring some swag to NHL ownership? But I'm guessing more than likely it'll just be some boring, rich, billionaire white guy that ends up buying them at the end of the day, because that's what always happens.
Yeah, that's what always happens. But again, it's funny. We have just switched to the Snoop Dogg's group, even though it's actually, if you actually look up, the leader of this group is called Nico Sparks. He's a film producer.
Nico Sparks.
And he is an African-American guy. So there is hope that it's not the boring white guy, but we'll see what happens. I'm curious they bowed out just because they couldn't get an exclusive window. It seems kind of petty, but I don't know how this stuff works. I haven't bought a lot of NHL teams in my career. So
it's been a few years for me, but so the collectible platform appears to be in a little bit of trouble. Collectible is a fractional card ownership platform. These became really popular during the COVID era sports card boom, when prices were skyrocketing left and right. You had lots of investors pouring into the hobby. And if you couldn't afford $2 million for a Grail sports card, you could buy a fraction of that card and a hope that your equity in that card appreciates over time. Well, needless to say, a lot of these apps are in trouble now as the economy's changed, the sports card market has corrected. And when I was thinking about apps and platforms like Collectible, Troy, I think a big flaw in that model was that it really never appealed to a collector.
Yeah.
And so the minute that there is any issue or downturn, where the sports card market isn't growing like gangbusters, there's you're going to lose really anyone that's really interested in you. Because as a collector, I don't really see a lot of interest in this stuff. It's really aimed towards that hardcore investor. I just want to invest $1,000 into a Wayne Gretzky PSA 10 rookie, and hopefully it's $2,000 3 years from now, sort of deal. So I'm not really surprised that a lot of these platforms are struggling right now. Are you?
No, I never. I mean, not that I have this great mindset, but these never interested me one bit when they came out. And I'm guessing, so is the reason they're in trouble is just people aren't interested in the platform anymore, and there's no transactions happening, because I'm sure that's how they get something on fees if people buy. But if people are not doing anything on the platform or anything, I'm sure
there's a big sell-off. I guess I really don't know, and I'm not trying to bash Collectible or anyone like that either. To me, the reason I think to bring them up is, if anyone who's listening, if you dabbled in this a couple years ago or more recently, I just think it's a trend that we're starting to hear some issues. Because I know, like in the case of Collectible, like pretty big chunk of their assets, so the cards in their platform, are at Heritage right now at auction. So that can't be a good thing. And so if you have money in them, I'm not saying that Collective is going to go under necessarily or anything like that, but I just think in any of these platforms, it's probably a good thing to go back and do a whole bunch of due diligence and make sure that you're confident that your money is safe and that's its best use at this point. In other news, Troy, eBay is expanding its authenticity guarantee program to Canada. Sports cards that sell for $250 or more will now pass through their authenticity guarantee program that began last year in the United States. So the cards get sent to Certified Collectors Group, as we know them as CSG, from their grading arm, and then to the buyer if the card passes authentication. There's a quote from someone at eBay that said, "Authentication is a top priority for collectors. We're excited to expand our authenticity guarantee, offering trading cards to the Canadian market," said Gene Cook, VP of Global Collectibles at eBay. Cook said it represents an industry first for the hobby in terms of size and scale, and supports our community of collectors who are merging their passions with investments. I don't know, in general, I think the authenticity guarantee program has been a good thing, a good idea. I know there's been some hiccups. It adds a little bit of time for you to get your cards, but I like having that peace of mind. What do you think about the whole?
Yeah, I don't mind it one bit. I bought one card that had to go through it, and it did take like an extra week. And it comes in a nice little, I don't know what you want to call it, a pretty well protected little binder thing. I did not like how they almost encase the card and with this little sticker, and it says, "If you remove this, you're in trouble. It's void." Like, I don't want all your stuff on my card after. They don't put it on the card. It's in like, team bag or little plastic thing. But yeah, I don't mind the program at all. I think it's a good thing. It just adds another layer of, I don't know what you want to say, security or authenticity, as the program is called, to the card.
Okay, tag grading. This is something that we've been talking about for a while. Yeah. It was pretty excited to do. We wanted to look at how tag values are comparing to the other grading card companies in the secondary market. As I mentioned, we've been intrigued by tag and have been observing them over the last 6-7 months as they brought their product to market and are slowly kind of ramping up. I think there's a lot we like about what they're doing. I think the slabs look cool, although that's very subjective, of course, but I like them. I like that their grading seems to be impartial and consistent because it's done by computer machines do it, not human beings. Funny, though, they have not inquired about leasing the Gongshow supercomputer to help them out. Would have thought that would have happened by now.
Oh, that thing might blow up trying to grade cards. We have to be very careful, very precious supercomputer we have.
I also love that tag is transparent with how your cards grade. So you can see on a pretty granular level all the details as to why to understand like why it got the grade it got. There's some kind of cool gamification to what they're doing too. I love the rank. So because they grade on the 1,000-point scale, even if they're all 10s, they're not all equal, right? You could have the best graded card of any of that grade. So I think that is pretty cool. Like I said, lots to be intrigued by with what tag is doing. But at the end of the day, for most people, you can set aside all the cool process improvements, bells and whistles, innovation. What it all adds up to in secondary market values is what's going to probably matter the most. And so that's where I think you and I have both been interested in a while to kind of see where they stack up initially. And I think because they've been pretty measured in a good way about how they've gone to market, there hasn't been a ton of sales out there. So it's been, for the last number of months when we wanted to do this, we just couldn't find enough cards to compare to the other services. And so finally, it was not easy even right now, but we did find some good comparisons. And because, again, the sales volume in the secondary market for them they're not selling Cole Caulfield Young Guns like 4 a day. I had to go back a few months. And so when I did the comparisons, what I did is I took the tag sale, and then for PSA and BGS, SGC, and CSG, I found the nearest sale to that specific date that the tag card sold to try to do as much of an apples to apples comparison as we could do in that case. All right, let's look at some of the values. So the first card that I found was a 2022 Upper Deck Matty Beniers Young Guns Tag 10 that sold for $253 on April 21st. So not too long ago, about a couple months ago, or a month ago. So $253 US. Now, a PSA 10, Troy, sold for $285 US on the same day. So tag was 11% less value than the PSA 10. A BGS 9.5 sold for $195 US on April 18th, 3 days prior. Tag value is 28% more in this case than BGS. SGC 10 sold for $192 US on April 7th. Tag value is 32% more than SGC. And a CSG 10 sold for $93 on April 28th. Tag value 172% more. So in this one case, one card stacks up pretty good, especially to PSA. One of the themes, too, that I wanted to point out, and I've been thinking about this for a while, I just never take the time to do it, is a little pro tip. I've heard this before with CSG in that they're really good graders, they're tough graders, and their just values aren't there. So a potential idea, if you're kind of a value hunter, like in this case where you have a Matty Beniers CSG 10 for $93, there's no guarantees in life, but if you really inspected that card and the card, not just the grade, that would be almost a great value play you could even crack and submit to PSA and do pretty well from that perspective. So that's Matty Beniers. Next card we looked at, Troy's favorite card, 2020 Upper Deck Kirill Kaprizov Young Gun. Tag 10 sold for $226 US on February 19th. There was 4 PSA 10s that sold on February 19th, so I averaged them. They were $240 US. Okay. So tag was just under that, 6% less than PSA. A BGS 9.5 sold for $152 US on February 16th. Tag value is 47% more. A SGC 10 sold for $180 US on February 20th. Tag value is 26% more. There are no CSG 10 Kaprizovs that sold in February.
Interesting.
So couldn't do the comparison. So again, tag did pretty well, just 6% less than the PSA sale. Next card was a 2021 Upper Deck Cole Caulfield Young Guns Tag 10. Sold for $239 US on February 5th. A PSA 10 sold on February 5th for $300 US, so tag value is 20% less. That's the biggest gap we've seen so far between PSA and tag. BGS 9.5 sold on February 4th for $201 US, so tag was 19% higher. SGC 10 sold for $311 on February 2nd, so tag was 24% less, big SGC sale there. And CSG 10 sold on February 11th for $153 US, tag value is 56% more. 2 more. Next one's 2020 Upper Deck J-Rob Young Guns Canvas card here. Tag 10 sold for $62 US on March 16th. There's a PSA 10 same day that sold for $121, so tag was about half the value there, 49%. No BGS 9.5 sales in March, no SGC 10 sales in March. A CSG 10, though, sold for $81 on March 19th, tag value 23% less for the J-Rob Young Guns Canvas. And then the last one, Troy, is a 2022 Upper Deck Matt Boldly Tag 10. That's over $178 US on February 15th. A PSA 10 sold on February 18th for $178, equal value. So tag was even with PSA. No BGS 9.5 sales in February for Boldly Young Guns. SGC 10 sold February 18th for 105 US, so tag was 70% more than SGC 10, and no CSG 10 sales in February. Not a lot of cards, hard to find. Had to go back a couple months to find 5 good hockey cards to compare to. And I guess I'll get your opinion in a second, but my takeaways are small sample size, not a comprehensive comparison. In any of these cases, if you look hard enough, and this is where I was cautioned, you can, I'm sure, find an example where a Tag 10 card sold way higher than a PSA 10, or vice versa, where a PSA card crushed a Tag card. You can find one example of almost any story that you want to tell, but I think this does at least kind of tell you that, the Tag is reasonably competitive, especially where they're at in their evolution, and especially with PSA. It's actually, I'm more impressed than not at this point. Again, it's a lot of it's always going to come down to secondary market value, where ultimately they kind of fit in the pantheon of all the grading companies. But I thought this was a interesting initial look at a values comparison. What's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, it's very interesting to me that even though they haven't been around that long, that they seem to be making gains. Obviously, I don't think they're at PSA level, but they're definitely finding their spot in the market. And I think we hear about them from listeners, from Discord users. There's a lot of interest in Tag and what's going on there. I do, like you said, I like the slabs too. I haven't graded anything with them. I've been thinking about it, putting together something. And again, they're still doing, I believe, the drops. So just a little public service announcement. If you are going to do that, you got to go to their website and see when those are. But I think it's very interesting. And again, it's a good thing for the hobby. Get more grading companies in there. And I'm just curious. I should look this up. I'm curious how many cards they've graded of hockey versus baseball versus basketball. If they're always, to me, it seems like hockey collectors are gravitate towards Tag. But that's just, I think that's very biased on my opinion, because we're a hockey card show, and that's why I look at them in the context of hockey cards. But that'd be curious too. But it's definitely interesting to see what's kind of going on now that they've been around for a little bit.
I'm looking forward to 2-3 months from now doing this again and seeing what's changed. That's where, to me, this is like a baseline exercise, right? And what I would hope to see a couple months down the road is they're not going to probably be eclipse PSA in value anytime soon. But if they can remain strong in their comparatives, I think that would be a good sign. And then just more sales volume. That would be good to see. I want to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor PWCC. Of course, we want to thank them for their continued support of our show. Troy, the monthly premiere auction is live right now, about 10 days left. There's 7 cards in this month's premiere auction. All amazing cards, of course. There's a 1979 OPG Wayne Gretzky PSA 9. I'm assuming you've already bid on that, Troy. It's kind of right up your alley. There's a 2020 Metal Universe Connor McDavid 97 Retro Green PMG out of 10, PSA 8. Very nice card. This one, Troy, oh my. If you haven't seen this one, you got to look it up. 1953 Parkhurst John Beliveau rookie SGC 9. Very high grade, very beautiful card. There's a 2009 Exquisite Collection Wayne Gretzky with the 03 rookie flashback, PSA 8. Here's another one, Troy, I'm sure you've already bid on. A 1912 C57 Georges Vezina, PSA 4.
That's nice.
Beautiful card. Not a rookie. Must be second, third year, something like that. And then a couple McDavid rookies. The 2015 UD Black Trademarks Gold Spectrum RPA at a 15. That's raw NBA authenticated. And a 2015 Exquisite Collection RPA at a 97 BGS 910. Be sure to head to PWCC Marketplace to check out these beauties and place your bids. The current weekly auction is live as well. As we do on each Thursday's show, we'll highlight some of our favorites, so look forward to that. Okay, Troy, there's actually stuff to talk about, new product releases today. That's kind of fun. The 2022-23 Upper Deck Trilogy checklist is out. Product looks to be incoming imminently. Release date on Dave & Adams shows May 25th. Pricing in the U.S. is still $130 US. For Hobby Box, looks like 170 Canadian on Clouds and Chara. So in Canada, there's a price for you there. Configuration, again, quickly, is it's 6 packs per box, 4 cards per pack. You get 1 autograph box, 1 member card, 3 numbered parallel cards, and 3 numbered base set rookies. So in looking at the checklist, first thing I noticed is I kind of like that the rookie checklist is smaller compared to a number of the recent releases that have been out. So if you recall, SPA has 100 rookies on the checklist. There's 50 rookies in Trilogy. So that means that you'll have a better chance, I think, of hitting a good, quote unquote, or more known rookie. It also means, though, Troy, that some rookies won't be on the checklist. And there are a couple that I saw that are very interesting omissions. So again, this is 2022 class. Most notably, you have Wyatt Johnston and Andrei Kuzmenko not on the checklist. Johnston feels like a miss to me there. I really feel like he has emerged.
Does feel like a miss, but I'm guessing the set might have been built before he started emerging and coming out.
I'm sure you're right there. And then Troy, speaking of rookies, there's no Bowie. So I don't know if that makes you out on Trilogy, but
that's a tough be really buy. By that. I don't know. Bowie should be in everything. Deranged mascot. Bowie and Gritty should be in every release. I don't care.
So continuing to break down the checklist, Trilogy breaks down their rookie cards into tiers. They have what's called level 1, level 2, level 3. So level 1, and they're all numbered. The base cards are numbered out of 99. They have 3 parallels, red 299, blue 199, and green out of 99. Then there's level 2, where the base cards are numbered out of 699. So from 999 in level 1 to 699 in level 2. Again, there's red, blue, and green parallels. Red is out of 149, blue out of 99, green out of 25. And then level 3 is the base cards out of 299. So much more limited. Red parallels are out of 99, blue out of 25, and green out of 10. What's interesting about the 3 levels is that each has the same checklist. So it's the same rookie. So you could get a level 1 base Matty Beniers out of 999 or level 3 out of 299. And then any of the associated parallels within that. There's lots of autos in Trilogy as well, as you do get 1 auto per box. Good mix of rookie autos. That's legends. Some of the legends on the checklist include Cam Neely, Doug Gilmour, Saku Koivu, Teemu Solani, Henrik Zetterberg, Peter Forsberg, Doug Waite, Eric Lindros, Marcel Dion, Jerome McGinley, and of course, Troy, I saw him, Heater, Danny Heatley.
Oh, there you go, Danny Heatley. Pekka's in it. Pekka Rinne's in it.
That's a joke.
I saw that.
Yeah, Pekka Rinne is in it. And from like a legends or former retired players point of view, it's a little bit of probably like a tier 2 or tier 3 list, but I don't think that's a bad thing, right? Because if it's Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux rookies every set, at some point those get watered down. Yeah. So it's kind of fun to see like Saku Koivu and
like Doug Waite. That's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that about this set. There are some update cards on the checklist as well. Like for a big chunk of the 2021 rookies, there's no Cole Caulfield though. So interesting omission there. Just about everyone else in 2021. And overall, Trilogy is one of those sets I can't really ever seem to make up my mind on.
I don't know if I just don't know.
I like it or I don't. And I just, and part of it is, and I said this before, and this might just be me, so I apologize if nobody else thinks this way. But I need to know like where stuff fits in, like in the big picture. And I don't understand that about Trilogy. I don't understand sort of its like purpose for existence, right? Like where you have in SPF Thunder, the Future Watch Auto, or in Ultimate Collection Shields, or these cards that kind of make the set iconic. And it's probably just my lack of understanding or continuing growth and knowledge that I'm building in hockey card hobby, but I don't really understand like what's the card in Trilogy that kind of makes this set a big chase yet. So that's where I'm sort of grappling with it. I don't know. What's your opinion on Trilogy?
I have looked through the checklist. I like some of the stuff. I will hold judgment until I really see a card in hand or open a box. Right now, just from the sell sheet and from looking at pictures, I don't mind how the cards look. But again, there's nothing that I saw off the top of my head besides the Pekka Rinnes that really excite me, even though it does look like you get good. I mean, the autograph per box I really like. I like when that's guaranteed. But besides that, I don't know. I just want to open a box and see what it's like.
24 cards, though, for 130. But everything seems to be numbered, though. So it's not really like a base card driven set from that. Now, cards out of $9.99 aren't going to have a ton of value, but it's better than base cards.
Is it 12 cards per box?
There's also it's 24 total cards.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misread the packs on the box. Yeah, gotcha.
There's a non-Upper Deck new product release to talk about, too.
I saw that.
So 2022-23 Topps Chrome NHL stickers For a number of years now, Topps has produced the NHL stickers, which they do have licensing for because they're, of course, stickers and not cards. This is the first issue, though, I believe, where they've used the Chrome brand for the stickers. So if you loved Topps Chrome Hockey, which I definitely do, this is about probably as close as you're going to get, at least for a while anyways. You can buy the packs, Troy, on Topps website for $20 US per pack. You get 20 stickers in each pack. There's 400 stickers in the base set. It's skip numbered, which is kind of, have you ever heard of that before? So like starts at number 6 and then it'll go like 6 through 12 and then pick up on like 14 or 17. It's
just because they didn't want to do the whole set in Chrome. Probably became too cost prohibitive or something. So they only picked a smaller set, is my guess.
Gotcha. That's a good guess. So there are 400 stickers, as I mentioned, in the base set. There are parallels. There's refractor out of 99, gold out of 50, orange out of 25, red out of 5, and a superfractor 101. There's also a rookie subset that uses the 1971-72 Topps design, which I love. It's one of my favorite card designs. Those are really, really cool cards. So that actually uses a mix of 2021 and 2022 rookies. So you have Caulfield, Zegras, Swayman, Sider, but then you have like Owen Power, Matty Beniers. No Matt Boldy, though. Shots fired by Topps there. Yeah. I couldn't find any secondary market sales yet, so I don't even know if these have shipped from Topps. But I don't know. Do these Topps Chrome stickers do anything for you? Is this something you'd ever order or not really?
I don't think I'd ever order it. I think I do like them. I am super nostalgic on sticker books because I used to collect them, the OPG ones when I was a kid. I will always remember completing the full 1984 OPG sticker book, the one with Gretzky on the front holding the Stanley Cup. And to me, sometimes stickers equate to kids, but I don't know if there is now an adult market, or I shouldn't say an adult, like a collector or investor market that looks at these stickers. It's wild that there's refractors now and all that stuff about stickers. Soccer, I think stickers were huge in. I think a lot of rookie cards are stickers in soccer. But yeah, these are interesting. I do like those 72 sticker recreation or 71, 72 sticker recreations are pretty sweet, but I don't think I'll buy any, but they are cool.
All right. We're going to end the show with personal pickups. Troy, it's your big moment.
we already let it out though on Instagram. So if people are listeners, my big purchase, I'm going to say it on the podcast. We did put it out on Instagram, like I said, but for any listeners that didn't see, I purchased the complete 2013-14, the Cup Monumental Patch auto booklets for Pekka Rinne. There were 3 booklets, and they were all for sale individually on the Slab Sharks anniversary sale, and I was able to purchase all 3. I absolutely love these cards now that I have them in hand. They are way better looking than I thought they'd be. The cards, if you put them together, they contain kind of a partial Predators logo. They look super cool. I actually wish they could have made, so the cards, obviously there's the out of 3. I wish they could have did an out of 4 or an out of 5 or maybe an out of 6 and did the complete logo, because right now it's kind of a partial logo and it's really missing. There's only a little piece of the saber tooth that comes out from the Predator. It'd be cool to have that whole thing coming out. But very cool looking cards. It's definitely a Grail purchase for me. And just to give you a little background, when I originally saw these, I knew I wanted them. I was going over the purchase price that I would probably have to pay in my head. And I had this thought that just popped in. I'm like, you know what? These cards are probably never coming up for sale again after this Slab Sharks auction, because whoever buys these is probably a Pekka Rinne collector. And these things are staying in their collection. These aren't going to be flipped. They're not probably going to come up for sale next year. So that kind of made the decision pretty easy for me that I was going to pay what I had to. And luckily I won.
Well, you won all 3 because it was 3 separate auctions. Yep. So what if you had won 2 and lost one?
I thought about that, but I think I put in a compelling bid to make sure that didn't happen.
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
Well, that's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, they look amazing. So congrats on that. I did have one purchase this week, not as exciting as 3 Pekka Rinne monumental booklets, but a card that I really like. I got a 1999 Topps Jaromir Jagr Stanley Cup Heroes Refractor. It's raw. It's Frank Porco approved. I sent it to Frank.
Nice.
And he liked it. So that's all I need is Frank's approval on my late 90s hockey card purchases, and that makes me happy in life. All right, guys. Well, that is our show for this Monday. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, and how could you not, and you want to support us and help Troy get out of debt from his going deep on Pecorines.
No kidding.
Chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server. Please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is on our hockeycardsgongshow.com website, and it's a Become a Patron link there. You can go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. There's a link in the show description for whatever podcast app you're listening to us on right now. And in our TikTok and Instagram profiles, there's a link in the link tree there as well. Follow us on social media, Troy. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Have a great start to your week, and we will see you all on Thursday.